Welcome to Peter News every night, Monday to Friday. And the main talking points on tonight's programme: St Johnstone issue a hands-off Tommy Wright warning to Dundee United. Has the bubble burst at Aberdeen as they shed 5 and Celtic see off Hamilton? Graham Dorrans has been drafted into the Scotland squad at the expense of the injured Kevin McDonald. And I'm delighted Alan Ruff and myself, Peter Martin, are joined by a very tough tackling in the boot room.
The Boot Room, sponsored by Third Dimension Framing.
Jim Goodwin is our guest. He's alongside Ruffy, and the good news is the new Jim Goodwin looking leaner, meaner, and no yellow cards or red cards around him. Ruffy, this is the new man this season.
No, I think Jim went through it all last year, but the professional guy that he is, you know, that and discipline now as well. But in a position that Jim plays these kind of situations, so you've just got to be a wee bit more wary.
Yeah, absolutely. What about the new image, Jim? Does it suit you, or would you like to go back to the rugged man that we all loved, who only spent maybe 44 minutes on the park before heading off?
No, change days, Peter. I've always in my game. I think that's why I'm in the team in the first place, you know, to be in the opponent's face. But, you know, some of the stuff that did go on last year and possibly the year before was unacceptable, and I have, you know, spoken publicly about it already, and I take full responsibility for my actions, and just time to move on from that now and hopefully go and have another good season with St Mirren.
Yeah, I still think you're at your best in the middle of the park. This is a St Mirren side, is it fair to say, that is still to really get motoring in this division?
Yeah, absolutely. We certainly haven't had the start that we would have liked. You know, we're sitting on 7 points from 9 games, which is unacceptable for a club like ours, but we feel that we have got the players and the squad definitely capable of making a challenge. We just need to get a little bit of consistency. We've had a number of new guys come into the team, and as you know, it sometimes takes time for these guys to gel. So we've got a great blend of experience and youth, and we're very confident of turning it around and going into the next quarter.
We're going to talk St Mirren later on in the programme, but let's cut to the chase of managers, Ruffy. Suddenly, Dundee United raise their head above the parapet and show us that they're interested in Tommy Wright at St Johnstone, but the Saints are having none of it.
Well, quite rightly, they've got to come out and say they want to hold on to their manager, but I think their manager has done a lot of damage against Dundee United, particularly in the Cup. They'll see a lot in him. They'll see the way he operates, and particularly the way his team's playing just now. Good brand of football and scoring goals, so no wonder they want him as the new manager. Yeah,
and the big debate among fans is always, Jim, which team is the bigger? Why would you go and join Dundee United when you've won the Scottish Cup with St Johnstone as well? But is there a feeling that Dundee United are the bigger club and can maybe offer him more? I
think, you know, without being too disrespectful to St Johnstone, I think, you know, going off fan base, yeah, you'd probably say that Dundee United are a bigger club, but you know, it would have to be something really, really big, I think, to take Tommy Wright from St Johnstone at the moment. He's worked wonders there on a limited budget, if you like, and I think he's possibly just settled at the club and happy where he's at, and I think there's a lot to be said about that, you know, happy going to work every day, working with guys that he trusts, and a group of players who he certainly knows how to get the best out of. So I don't see the reason for Tommy to leave St Johnstone at this moment in time.
Yeah, when you've got over 70 applicants for jobs, Ruffy, at any given club, I would expect a number of the managers are hoping St Johnstone dig their heels in and hold on to Tommy Wright so that it opens up a door for someone else.
Yeah, it is. It's a merry-go-round, there's no doubt about that, but it looks as if the clubs who are needing managers are now acting and interviewing as we speak. They'll obviously have people that they really want and obviously go down the list, but certainly I think Dundee United have acted very quick with the St Johnstone manager.
Okay, we're going to talk about the weekend results. We'll look back over some of the key games and some of the shocks, not only in the Premiership, but the Championship, League One and League Two in Scotland. But today, the Scotland squad assembled that big match on Thursday against Poland. It is a must-win, and there's been a few injury call-offs. Of course, Kevin McDonald at Wolves was the first one out. Gordon Strachan has immediately drafted in Graham Dorrans, and there are worries for us over the likes of James Morrison, Ikechi Anya, although Darren Fletcher of West Brom did indeed train. We want as many options as possible. Everybody's talking about Lewandowski, Ruffy, but from our own positive side, we have 3 or 4 strikers who all scored at the weekend.
Yeah, we certainly have, but unfortunately I think he'll only pick one of them. It'd be great if we could get 2 strikers on the park that are confident in scoring goals. I think the debate will be from now right up into the game is which striker is it going to be. We've already had a view on it in here that it looks as if it's going to be the Fletcher, but again Griffiths scored at the weekend, so Gordon will assess everybody when they meet up and he'll assess them during the training, and I think it's who looks as if they're the sharpest on the day.
Yeah, don't be offended by it, Jim, but we want a lot of your countrymen and your old mates to feel bitterly disappointed over the course of the next 7 to 10 days. You know that, don't you?
Well, I do. I get that. I get that in the St Mirren changing room as well, especially with the build up to the international week. You know, it's very exciting for both countries, and you know when you're reading out the injury list there, it's music to our ears. You know, but like you say, I mean they've got great strength and depth at the moment. I think Scotland, and particularly in that forward area, Griffiths is on fire. Obviously Fletcher scored there recently with Sunderland. And obviously, you know, you could possibly go with Stephen Naismith up there as well, who's been banging in goals down in Everton recently as well. So I think they have got great options, but you know, from our own point of view, obviously we hope that Lewandowski's on fire and, and it plays into our hands.
Yeah, absolutely. And the whole of the Republic of Ireland just goes into party mode. Of course, as Jim mentioned there, Robert Lewandowski scoring goals for fun for club and country. And Mark McGee was talking today to the assembled members of the press, and he's well aware of the threat of not only Lewandowski but other Polish players.
I think the boys themselves are aware of, you know, the player. You know, as I say, we feel as if we've got to match them in every area. And obviously, you know, he's the guy that they would hope would get goals to them, so we have to pay him attention. Total respect for him, you know, fantastic player. But, you know, we have players that are in form as well. We have players that scored at the weekend as well.
Yeah, it's good when we've got players scoring goals. I mean, there's a fair bit of presumption, Jim. Is there a sense in Ireland that you can get a result? I mean, it's Germany at home, but then it's Poland away. I mean, we're looking at it and thinking to ourselves, you know, Ireland could struggle to even get a point out of those 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's going to be extremely difficult, but obviously the Germans up first, and you know they're a fantastic outfit. But I would expect Martin O'Neill to be very defensive minded. You know, 4-5-1, every man behind the ball, and just try to frustrate the life out of Germany, and hopefully get that point that I think is required. I think if Ireland get a point from one of the next 2 games, I hope that'll be enough. I do believe that Scotland are good enough to beat Poland at Hampden, but just the current form of Lewandowski, Scotland are going to have to try and come out and try and win the game, and I think by doing that they're possibly going to leave themselves open at the back. So we're very optimistic. Obviously we've got the 4-point lead as well at the moment, so I think we've got to be slight favourites, but yeah, definitely the 2 games are a hell of a lot tougher than what, you know, Scotland have got with Poland and Gibraltar.
Yeah, we tried to frustrate Germany as well, but they wouldn't give us the ball.
That's exactly what I was thinking. Every time we frustrated them, they scored. Here's the look at the fixtures for the remaining 2 games. We live in hope. If you're a Scotsman, there's Scotland against Poland, but Ireland at home to Germany, Georgia against Gibraltar, and I don't think even the most ardent Scotland fan can be criticised for thinking we're going to beat Gibraltar in Portugal. And it's Germany, Georgia and Poland against Ireland. And if you have a look at the table, just as Jim pointed out there, that 4-point advantage for the Republic is crucial, Ruffy. They've got the points in the bag.
Yeah, the only worry I've got, you know, is if Poland are in a good place when Ireland go over there, that it's not a be-all and end-all for them. I can see maybe Ireland nicking a point over there. We got a point over there. I think Ireland's as good as us. So stranger things can happen. So I think it's very important that we get a win.
Yeah. Are you optimistic, Ruffy?
You know, anything can happen at Hampden. You know, having played there before in big games, played against Holland, teams like that, with not given a chance. But with the Scotland support behind you and everything, if you get the wee lucky break here and there, I don't see any reason why not.
Yeah, and have you got a thought in your mind? Do you think Mark McGee mentioned to us when he was on this programme a couple of weeks ago that Stephen Fletcher looks as if he's going to be the man that plays the system that Gordon Strachan wants.
That's the word they use, playing the system. He of all the strikers seems to play the system that we need to bring in the Maloneys if they're playing, or bringing other people into the game, because I think most of the success we're going to get is from a midfield area. I mean, we saw we don't score a lot of goals, but we certainly have midfield guys in there who will be there around about the 18-yard box to get a chance.
Okay, fingers crossed for that match on Thursday, and of course the other match on the Monday as well. Coming up in the next part of the programme, we'll talk more St Mirren with Jim Goodwin, and we'll also discuss Peter Houston. He could be in a bit of trouble with the SFA. We'll look back at some of the key results right across all the divisions in Scotland next.
Hi, I'm Chris Sutton. To win this beautiful signed shirt from me, which club did Celtic sign me from?
Hi, I'm Craig Turnbull, and don't forget you can watch the PLZ Soccer news headlines Monday to Friday by clicking on the link below.
Welcome back to Peter and Ruffy's Football Show. Alan Ruff is alongside me, Peter Martin, and I'm delighted in the Championship we have St Mirren's Jim Goodwin with us in the boot room.
The Boot Room, sponsored by Third Dimension Framing.
What an interesting week it has been, especially over the weekend in the Premiership. There's more than a few games to talk about. Certainly the big stunner, Ruffy, had to be up at Pittodrie. I mean, 5-1 and some cracking goals scored by St Johnstone.
Yeah, I think the first one just set the tone. It was a fantastic strike. One of these ones could have ended up in Rose Ed, but it didn't. Ended up in the back of the net. It was a fantastic strike. And after that, I don't think anybody saw it coming. You know, even you could see the supporters just shaking their head. The disbelief at what was happening in front of their eyes after the way the season had went. But every team has one of these, and Derek will be hoping that is the one, that the players can get it out of the system and then kick on again.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the results from the weekend, everybody was looking and thinking, OK, Aberdeen could extend that advantage. Then once again, Celtic have to play on the Sunday. But suddenly it all turned on its head, Jim Goodwin, and Celtic were able to go to Hamilton Accies and get all 3 points. Now it's down to 1 point.
Yeah, absolutely. Celtic are right back on their heels again, aren't they? And I think it's been a disappointing run of games from Aberdeen. I don't think anybody saw it coming. You know, it's quite frightening to think that I think it's 3 on the bounce now, is it, that they've lost, and 2 in the league. So it has been quite surprising from everybody looking in. But, you know, great news for Celtic, of course. Obviously went to goal behind at Hamilton, but showed good character to come back and win. And I think now, you know, obviously Celtic would have been huge favourites anyway to go and win the league. But now it's up to Aberdeen to go and put that bad run to bed. I think the international break has come at a great time for them as well. Derek McInnes will be able to work really hard on the training ground with his team to put all those mistakes to bed and hopefully, for their point of view, come back firing after the break. Yeah,
Ronnie Dyler was getting a little bit tetchy, Roffy, with one reporter who was focusing on the mistakes at the back rather than the job that Celtic had managed to do at New Douglas Park. I mean, I think he's now getting a real sense of the pressures. I mean, if Mark Warburton over the last couple of weeks was getting a little bit miffed at one defeat, you know, Ronnie Dyler is probably now getting more than upset at times when people start to talk about the negatives rather than the positives.
Well, unfortunately, that's the way it is in football. And if you're a manager, you've got to try and sort it out. And Jim will tell you, even as a player, when you lose goals for set pieces, it is in the back of your mind. You know, every ball that comes into the box, you're hoping you defend it well, and they'll have been working on it. There's no doubt about that. But again, you know, if we weren't watching the Celtic game and we said Celtic have just lost a goal, we'd automatically think it was for a set piece, because that's the way it's been in the last 2 or 3 weeks. But these things can be sorted out very easily at the training ground.
I think the highlight of or what has highlighted the defensive set plays has been the Malmo one and the one against Fenerbahce. You know, both in Europe. I think there's been questions over the zonal marking. in the league by a country mile, to be honest with you. I know probably conceded far more goals than they would have liked to have this season so far, but I think their points to games ratio this year is slightly better than what it was last year. So it's the fact that Aberdeen have went on that 8-game winning run, I think that has probably put the pressure on Celtic. But I think there's a lot being said at the moment about them defensively, and I think probably some of it is a little bit not deserved.
Yeah, I mean, what's your take on the zonal marking, Jim? Because you mentioned there, and I think very much in a positive sense, Celtic's record overall. But the problem for a lot of fans is the zonal marking, when it doesn't work, it's in key games where their desire and their expectation is all about Europe and going as high as they possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. Personally, you know, if I was a manager or you know, currently a player now, I'm not a huge fan of zonal marking. You know, I think it allows players to come in and get a run on you, a jumping start on you, if you like. I would always like to get the opposition's best headers of the ball marked up, and at least if they're going to get a header, it's not going to be a free header. You know, you're going to have somebody leaning on them or pushing into them. And also last year you had Denaye and Van Dijk, you know, Celtic's main headers of the ball. No doubt they would have been along that 6-yard line. So you've had to take Van Dijk and Denaye out of that for the Fenerbahce one. So they've lost a couple of main headers as well.
It's all about strengths and weaknesses. If you know the two guys that are in front of you from a goalkeeper, if you know the two guys' strengths and weaknesses in front of you, you know if a ball's coming in whether that guy in front of you is going to attack it or not, and you know whether you can help him out or he's going to help you out. And it's all about getting to know each other, and that was another different back four at the weekend. And it's there for everybody to see. As soon as they get a settled back four, the mistakes will get cut out.
And if you're talking about other clubs that everyone's looking to try and push Celtic as much as possible, Hearts come into that category. They should have won the game at the weekend, Ruffy, by an absolute barrel load. Chances are plenty in the end. Killie get a point out of it.
Yeah, they had the chances, there's no doubt about that, but they used to be at Hearts, went there, and when you go back to your own club, you've got something to prove. Obviously the goalkeeper and Gary as well, and you could see the delight in Gary's vulnerable right into the end.
Dundee United in their current predicament, but as far as Partick Thistle are concerned, Jim, I think Alan Archibald held his hands up and said, look, I can feel the heat. I know we have to get results, and that was a welcome one at the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. I was delighted for Archie against him, and he's actually... I mean, you know, if you're going to talk about shoestring budgets, then I think, you know, I don't think Archie's been handed an awful bit in maybe the players that he would have liked to have. So I think they've been playing, from people that I speak to that have been going to the games, I think they've been playing result for them, and hopefully now that'll kick-start the campaign for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Goals been a problem, but after his rant after the 3-1, a 1-1 with Alloa, that would have been pleasing for Danny Lennon going back to his old club. Wraith Rovers still motoring along, and Ray McKinnon's doing a great job. Hibs getting a good 3-0 win in Dumbarton, 2-1 win over Livingston. But Rangers 3, Falkirk 1 left Peter Houston far from happy, Ruffy. Did he have cause to be angry?
I think, unfortunately, again, it's when you see it a second time. Yes, I think he did. The first time, the referee's got to make a decision, and all he saw was a Rangers player, a Falkirk player going in with his foot, and a Rangers player going down. He's made a decision, but I think if the chance to see it again, he might have changed his mind. They said it was his trailing leg, but I don't think his trailing leg was trailing. I think his leg was firmly based on the ground. It was a Rangers player that went into his foot rather than the tackle. So when you go to Ibrox and you're one each, you've weathered the storm. There's not long to go. You're going to be pretty annoyed at the end of the day if that's the one that turns the game.
Yeah, I mean, Will Vaulk's goal, Jim, was an absolute screamer. But then Peter Houston had highlighted to us last people watched them, they scored double figures.
Yeah, it is. It's quite frightening, and that just shows you how about Tavernier's on 8 goals, I think, or something already. So no, the two of them have been probably Rangers Players of the Year up to now, absolutely, and it's not just in particular has probably been the best find of the summer for Rangers.
Yeah, and your old club, Ruffy, I can't go without mentioning the 3-0 win, albeit season, but again, key players chipping in with goals. Liam Henderson, for me, will be the best loan signing of the season.
There's no doubt about that. When Scott Allen left, you could hear the Hibs supporters, absolutely wondering what they were going to do for somebody to take over, and certainly Liam's come in, and I think he adds a wee bit more. He supports the strikers a lot more. He'll score more goals than Scott, and it has been a great addition.
Yep, absolutely. And of course, Hibs just tucked in nicely behind Rangers, who clearly at the top of the table. Looks as if they're going to run away with it. Can anybody catch them? Will it be a Falkirk or a Wraith Rovers? Only time will tell. You can interact with us, give us your thoughts on your favourite team at Peter and Ruffy, and also facebook.com/Peter and Ruffy, and we'll read out some of your messages as the week progresses. Jim, gut feeling, what's going to happen briefly? Scotland-Poland.
I think, like I said earlier, I think Scotland have to come out and try and win the game. I don't think a draw, I don't think Gordon Strachan will think a draw will be enough. So I think they're going to leave themselves open at the back from an Irish point of view. I hope so, and I hope Lewandowski pops up and scores another hat-trick.
There you are. You see, we invite everybody on, even if they're pro-Scotland or against it, and I couldn't think of a better guest to get you throwing things at the telly, as we say. Thanks to Jim Goodwin, and good night.